You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Hello and welcome to Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast that's suitable for all ages from... to... and everything in between. I'm Tiernan, and this week I have mostly been wondering about belly buttons. I mean, they aren't buttons, are they? You might have an outie, which I suppose it's a bit more like a button, isn't it? Because it's sort of out and you can push it in. But if you have an innie, it's not a button at all. And if someone presses it, all that happens is their finger or your finger goes in the belly button, and then it gets that horrible, weird belly button smell that only belly buttons have. And then, when you take the finger out, it has fluff on it, which is always a strange colour, like, you know, your belly button has its own fashion style. Have you ever pressed your belly button and then something's actually happened, like it was a button? You know, like maybe a door opened somewhere, or there was a magical noise, or maybe you just did a very loud fart. At least that would make it a bit more like a button, wouldn't it?
Hey, you are talking the very worst rubbish. Please let me out of here. I need to leave.
Egbert the mail sorting robot, that is not very nice. I thought you loved being here, and you loved my great clever insights about the world.
I hate my job. I wish I lived pretty much anywhere else in the world, even in the sewers.
Oh, well, that's sad to hear. But you're a mail sorting robot, aren't you? So, I mean, what else would you like to do other than sort the mail for this brilliant podcast, right? Surely that's like your favourite job ever.
I'm not a mail sorting robot. I'm a snail sorting robot. I want to be in the rainforests sorting the many species of snails like I should be doing, not dealing with your stupid letters.
Oh, really? Snails? Ah, well, do you know what? I think I might be able to help, or even combine your jobs, which should make you happier. I mean, have you even heard my song? I'm going to read your emails, reviews and letters too. No snails, I said letters, not lettuce. Please don't eat, they aren't your food. No snail, I definitely said letters. Do they even look like a lettuce? They aren't even green. Please, snails, go away from the letters. You're the most annoying snails I've ever seen. Snails, snails, snails.
I hated it.
Oh, sorry about that. But hey, it might solve your problem, right? Because I can't actually let you leave. I lost the receipt for you. And then also, who would sort my post?
You are the worst.
Thanks, Egbert. Such a nice thing to say. But tell you what, send some letters my way. And then during the most importantest bit, I'll leave a trail of lettuce to get the snails in for you onto the letters. And then you can sort them while you pass me the post.
It won't help, but okay. Here's your stupid letters.
Ooh, this is a review on Apple Podcasts from Tugafadugi, which is either a brilliant name or maybe it stands for something. Let me guess. Terrapin Grouping Hat Fighting Double Umbrella Eyes Gregory Isaacs. Yeah, I'm sure that's their name. Anyway, Double Umbrella Eyes Gregory Isaacs says... I love Radio Nonsense. Heart, heart, heart. It's so fun. I love it. And so much. Shout out to Linda for me. All right, I will. Linda. They want to shout out for... No, okay. I have no idea where she is. I love you all. I love Joshua so much too. He's a seagull. P.S. My dad's name is Greg. P.P.S. It was my birthday last week. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of animal emojis. Now, I think Double Umbrella Eyes Gregory Isaacs meant it was my birthday last week. I mean, not mine, as in theirs. In which case, happy belated birthday. But they may actually mean it was Wes's birthday last week. In which case, very happy birthday, Wes, whoever you might be. Also, well done on having a dad called Greg. I hope he's an interesting Greg and not a boring one. And my guest from a few episodes ago, Joshua, was indeed great. And I hadn't realised he's a seagull, but that does explain why he kept trying to steal my chips. So, thanks very much for listening to Tugafugadoogie / Double Umbrella Eyes Gregory Isaacs. And thanks for the very nice review. Next, please, Egbert.
Fine.
Oh, now this is interesting. It says, 5-star review, message from Linda. Hi, it's Linda. I'm in the studio eating chips and an avocado I stole from Donald Trump with the farting hippos in their pond. Thanks for the Linda edition. This is the Linda emoji. Yeah, and then they've put a dodo emoji, an orangutan emoji, a chipmunk emoji, a cat emoji, a hippo emoji, a turkey emoji, a seal emoji, and a cheetah emoji. Yes, I am a dodo, orangutan, chipmunk, cat, hippo, turkey, seal, cheetah. Bye from Linda. What? Well, this is a turn for the books. What a revelation. Linda isn't a person at all. She's a weird mix of 8 different animals. Well, no wonder I haven't seen her. I was just looking for a person called Linda. I didn't think that this mix of 8 animals was a person at all. That explains a lot. Also, Linda, firstly, thank you for reviewing the podcast so nicely when you work on it. It's nice for you to give it such a high review, even though you don't like turning up to work. And well done for stealing an avocado from Donald Trump. I didn't think he ate fruits or vegetables at all. I didn't think he even knew what they were, but maybe it's just because you keep stealing them from him. So very well done. I'm going to get my animal spotting guide out and see if I can find Linda somewhere in this studio eating chips and avocado. It can't be that hard, right? I mean, how many dodo, orangutan, chipmunk, cat, hippo, turkey, seal, cheetahs do you see eating avocado?
What about my snails?
Yeah, okay, gosh, you're so naggy. Okay, Egbert, I'll get the snails sorted first. But even before that, if you out there, the listeners, would like to send in anything to this show, whether it's a question that you need answering or just anything that means Egbert has to do a job that he hates, then please get your belly button fluff faces, sorry, I mean grown-ups, to help you email me at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. You can also leave a review for the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or loads of other places, or you can reply to the Spotify Q&A for any episode too. If your grown-ups would like to support this show, then they can subscribe you to the Linda edition, which has no adverts, is not made of 8 different animals, and does come out a whole day earlier than everywhere else. And they can do that for a small fee on Apple, Spotify, or Acast+. Please also check out our website at comedyclubforkids.co.uk, and 2 other things this week. More things. This is the worst. Shh. Oh, I wonder if he has an off switch or a way of sort of putting him on standby. I wish I did. Oh, well. First thing, listeners, is you have still got another week to enter the competition to win a copy of Invisidog by podcast Stuart Heritage. If you head back to the episode a couple of weeks ago and have a listen where Stuart was my guest, then on there it tells you how to take part. There are 5 copies to give away, and I will announce the winners in 2 weeks' time. The second thing is, even if you're on the Linda edition with no adverts, I'm very sorry, but here is a quick advert for my other kids podcast that I do, Bust or Trust, a kids mystery podcast. Please check it out and have a listen. Are you mystified by mysteries?
Or can you crack the craziest cases?
We're looking for chief detectives to join us on our investigations into some of the strangest stories from around the world.
We'll analyse aliens, look for the Loch Ness Monster and hunt out curses. We'll present you with the best evidence and the most interesting facts.
And then it'll be up to you to decide and tell us what you think.
Will you be a mythbuster like me?
Or a myth truster like me?
If you want to be our chief detective, join us on Bust or Trust, a kids mystery podcast. Every week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music and all other places you listen to podcasts.
There you go. Now go listen and subscribe to that show as well, even though Linda isn't there either. And now I'm going to go lure in a bunch of snails. But while I do, you listen to this most importantest bit. Hooray, hooray, Helen Duff is back today. That's Helen Duff, aka Helen, who doesn't have a word she won't try spelling, aka Helly Do, the captain of the zoo, or as all our bat listeners know you. Sorry, it's too high-pitched. No one will be able to hear that, but it's definitely happening. But of course, Helen, you are very well known for your definitive guide to winning at extreme musical chairs, for your world-famous musical about the life of a pebble called We Won't Rock You Because We're a Pebble, and most famously for your campaign to reclassify all the planets in the solar system as just really big oranges. Helen, how are you? It's so lovely to have you back.
I am so happy to be here. I'm so glad you mentioned my prowess at extreme musical chairs. My bottom actually hurts quite a bit because I don't know if you know this, but it's a little bit like wheelchair basketball where you're allowed to sort of smash people quite heartily with, well, in wheelchair basketball, it's your wheels. In extreme musical chairs, it's your bottom. So as a consequence, my bum has been taken quite the... I was going to say punching, but it's not punching, is it? It's sort of a bash, a bush, a bump.
Yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Because normally you'd say it's sort of like if you do that with your head, it's known as a headbutt, but you've done it with your butt, so it can't be a butt butt.
I mean, it can,
A
and
bum,
it is.
a bum butt.
That is the technical
Is that
term.
what it is? A butt
It's
butt.
a butt, yeah.
A butt butt. So that's what makes it extreme. It's not that the chairs are dangerous, or it's I sort of part of me wondered if it was a bit like kind of huge thrones with spikes on, or if the music's too frantic, or is it all of those things at once?
No, it's actually the chairs are very much your standard chair, and that's why they've had to bring in regulations around the bottom size, because before it was a level playing field. Everybody just, regardless of your bot, you were able to play in the same league. But now, as a consequence of some serious injuries, they've had to start, like in the way that with boxing, they have heavyweight, featherweight.
Yeah.
With extreme musical chairs, they have peachy, they have pom pom. That's actually a type of bottom that's only held by a certain type of sprite.
Right.
And then they have the custard cake.
Right, of course.
And then they have the royal sponge.
Wow.
Which, as I'm sure you've guessed, is specifically just for people of royal blood, because I think they were a bit worried about bumping bums with anybody who wasn't in the line to the throne.
I mean, I'm certain that if they did that, they would have to have someone come and dust that person's bum and inspect it, make sure it was worthy to butt with a royal. That's probably quite a lot of work.
Precisely, and it's a challenge because actually the royals love to play extreme musical chairs, so for them it's a shame because it's really limiting the amount of people they can butt with.
Yeah, that must be, and then I guess is there. Because chairs are removed. So the rest of it happens like musical chairs, where one chair is removed every time the music stops.
Yeah.
And then it is just about the absolutely charging with your bum into someone else's bum to get them out of the way. Right,
bum first.
Yeah.
So you have to get very good at navigating with your bum and not looking behind you. Because if you're looking behind you, you're also not going to see any bums coming towards you. Do you see what I mean? You have to be looking ahead to make sure you're not going to get butt-butted from the front, because they can come at you from any angle. You can get people off a chair any which way from the front. I've been butt-butted on my chin. It doesn't butt doesn't necessarily mean it's butt to butt. It just means it's a butt. Sometimes people say butt because they think, I can call this out. I can say to the referee, but it's not my fault, or but surely that's cheating. No, if you get a butt in the eye, that's as valid a butt as a butt in the butt.
Wow, no one wants a butt in the eye. That sounds horrendous. That sounds like a really bad. I mean, are you allowed accessories? Could you get little rear view mirrors for your bum so that you can kind of see with your eyes which way your butt's going?
No,
is none of that allowed?
None of that's allowed, because imagine you got a rear view mirror in the eye. That's a serious. That's a bloody injury. The worst, I mean, unless you've got very thin skin, the worst you can get with a butt in the eye is just a big old bruise.
Sure.
Yeah, you're not talking a deep gash. Whereas, if you're carrying accessories like wing mirrors or the butt equivalent of a knuckle duster, then, which is a type of ring that people wear on their fingers, that if you were to be punched with the ring would really cause some damage. There was a time where people were developing elaborate waist belts with sort of studs and ridges, and that had to be taken out because obviously it was an absolute carnage.
Yes, I bet.
And also took the skill out of the game.
Violent,
Really reduced the level of accuracy people were working at, because they could just use brute beltage.
Right, sure, yeah.
Whereas the people who are
yeah.
top of the game in extreme musical chairs, it's not actually about the size of your butt. You could have a custard pie, you can have a peachy boy, you can have all manner of other types. There's too many types of course. There's too many variations for me to go into here. And also I think people would get lost, because it would be very difficult for me to explain to you if you don't know what a zodiac is.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I want to ask. It sounds
Don't. It'll take
intriguing, but
there's a long
sure.
history, and a lot of people don't think they even exist. But
Sure.
what I'm saying is, it's not about the shape or the size. It's about how you use it. And so the people who are top of their game train for months in the woods alone, only ever running backwards through vastly varied terrain. I'm talking swimming backwards with the butt, going down water rapids, navigating their way across the channel, through deserts, over mountains.
Just bum first.
Yeah.
Wow. That's extreme, because in my head I've got images of like those sort of training dolls that people use for martial arts, and people sort of charging at them butt first and knowing how to kind of tackle them. Does that sort of thing happen? Yeah.
Yes, that does happen in terms of you practice running into things backwards.
Sure.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in a gym situation, because often I don't want to cast aspersions on the community, but it doesn't pay that well. So you don't want to be spending a lot of money on a gym membership. So if you ever see somebody in the library, in the supermarket, in the street, running backwards into, say, a shop window or a tower of tins, it's probably because they're practicing extreme musical chairs.
Extreme. Yeah, it's very sad to hear it's not paid well when it's such a popular sport. And I mean, I know it's one of these things I was keen to talk to you about on here, because a lot of our listeners are of a younger age. Some are of an ancient, almost wizardly 1,000-year-old age, but some of them are really young, and they may want to get into kind of junior extreme musical chairs, which I understand is when you wear sort of like, you must have like a butt cushion, don't you, to make sure it's a bit like in bowling when they put the foam things down the sides of the lane.
Yeah.
So it's safer for if junior extreme musical chairs, you wear a sort of butt cushion buffering, don't you, I believe?
Yeah, it's a little bit like a large nappy that you wear on the outside of your clothes. But with one of the ways that we train the young'uns is to give them balloons on either side, because you want them to feel padded, but you also don't want them to feel invincible. Otherwise, they never learn.
Yeah.
They're running backwards into a bus. We don't want that.
No, that's very true. Yes, that's wow. So they get balloons on the side as well. That's fine. Well, that's what I wanted to say is, I sort of thought maybe talking to you might inspire them to take this up properly.
I don't want to put anybody off. The reason I bring up the fee thing is because often a lot of us do something else. You've got people working in banking, people working in equestrian training. You've got people working in cleaning swimming pools. A whole range of professions that people do in order to be able to pay for their passion, which is extreme musical chairs. Do what you love, but also make sure that you can feed yourself.
Well, I agree. Can I ask? One of the things you also remind me of, are there preferred songs for extreme musical chairs? Is there anything you prefer to go into to battle with?
I try not to become superstitious about it, because I think that's a bit of a risky business. When people have to wear the same pants every time they do something in order to feel as if those are my lucky pants, so I need to wear them every single time. So I try not to stick to a single track, but I will say that I've had great success whilst listening to the Jungle Book's Bare Necessities.
Wow. I can imagine that, actually. Yeah, I can imagine that. Because it's happy, but it's got a real kind of rhythm to it, and yeah, I can sort of imagine exactly the points when you might charge in with your butt.
Absolutely. And also the message of that song, of course, is that you don't need much to make you happy. And imagine listening to that whilst running backwards through a room of people who've dedicated their lives to being able to see out of their bottoms.
Yeah, that is amazing. Well, I mean, Helen, it's very inspiring. I look forward to seeing a live match at some point. At some point soon.
Yeah, I'll let you know the dates.
Yeah, please do. But I'm guessing you're kind of resting. Obviously, we're listeners can't see this, but you are sitting on a number of kind of padded cushions. You're obviously in rest time between matches at the moment. What are you up to while you rest? What are you able to do?
Well, I've got a huge game coming up at Alexandra Palace. Do you know that space?
Yes, I do. Yeah, very well.
Yeah, I think it's about a mile across that room, and so that's going to be a big one. So I'm doing a lot of R&R, rest and relaxation beforehand, as well as really packing on the protein shakes. But in between that, I've just been doing comedy gigs, comedy shows, your podcast, other bits and
Of
bobs.
course, you're on this. Yes, we're talking now.
um,
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I really enjoy wild swimming, which is where you go swimming in cold lakes and pools that are not heated
Right.
in the
But
wintertime.
you see, now that's confusing. It's called wild swimming because you're out in the wild. It's not that the swimming itself is what you don't charge in and sort of throw your arms about and go, ah, I'm swimming.
You do come out looking like an angry bear, though.
Is that why it's called wild? Because it's a bit like with the extreme musical chairs, it's working out which bit is the extreme bit, and with the wild swimming, it was hard for me to understand what the wild bit was.
You turn bright red afterwards. All of the blood rushes towards your core, so your heart, your lungs, protects the bits that you need to really keep you alive. Leaves things like fingers, toes, thighs, because who needs them?
Sure, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So as a result, for some reason, as a result of the blood rushing away from those places, they go bright red. So when you come out, you look like a really fierce, angry bear. And I think one of the reasons adults do it, grown-ups, is because children don't believe them when they say, I'm really getting furious with you now.
Wow.
Yeah. Children think, I don't believe, I can see that you've got a little glint in your eye. I can see there's a little smile in your grin. I can see at the edge of your mouth. You're trying not to laugh at me. They can tell that adults are increasingly finding it more and more difficult to be cross, right?
Yeah.
Because really, who can be cross for very long? And they find you out.
Yeah.
Children find you out. They know that you can't really be angry with them for very long. So now adults are going to more and more extremes, jumping into freezing cold water so that they come out looking like an angry bear.
Yeah. But does that work?
In order to prove to the children.
In my head, children will look at that and go, ha ha, you're a giant tomato.
Yeah, exactly. Often things that adults do to prove to children that they're really serious now, they really mean it this time, just makes them look even more foolish.
Yeah, and you'd be a cold giant tomato as well. You'd be a shivering giant tomato.
A freezing. You'd taste horrible.
Yeah. But then I worry where this goes next, because if wild swimming isn't what it takes to convince children that you are actually very cross at what they've done, what next? What are we going to have to like go into space just to come back down, really shiver? I was trying to think what going in space would make you do. Probably just sort of float about. Actually, it wouldn't make you look very angry. You'd have to go into the centre of the earth so you get so hot.
You become molten.
And
you melt.
Your head erupts. I'm so angry. My head's a volcano.
You walk home and say, look, I don't even have a head anymore.
Yeah.
Well, you can't speak.
Yeah.
And then the children have really won because you've shown them how furious you are. You've gone to the centre of the earth.
Yeah.
You've become molten. Your head's melted. And the children say, well, that was silly.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Yeah.
Give me the keys. I'll drive.
Yes, that's true. And then they take over. It's a very hard battle. I mean, again, I don't think a lot of our listeners realise that, they do have to deal with grown-ups often, which is probably quite annoying for them. But I don't think they realise how often the grown-ups in their head are like, this is a battle, and one day I will prove just how cross I am. Like every day that conversation is happening. And I don't think the kids care or know.
Well, it's a very unfair playing field, isn't it? Because it's a bit like if a peachy bot was to go up against a custard pie. It's not a fair fight. In the same way, when adults get angry, it's not real. They're not really angry.
Yeah.
It's pretend. When children get angry, when they have, when they throw things and cry and scream about not wanting to put their shoes on, that's real.
That's real, yeah. Yeah.
That is real.
Yeah.
The fact that it happens every other 5 minutes doesn't make it any less real.
Yeah.
Those children are fully justified in their absolutely extraordinary behaviour, whereas adults, they're just silly billies.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, putting on shoes when you don't want to put on shoes it's awful. It's an awful thing to have to do, and it's an awful punishment that anyone should have to endure. Putting on your coat when you don't think it's cold outside, whereas when adults get cross because children have spilt paint all over the new carpet, so what? It's just a carpet, right? Like, you know, in
Exactly.
1,000
And who's
years,
to say it doesn't look better with that
probably
massive
way more interesting.
splash of flamingo pink across it?
Way,
Absolutely.
well, looks
Why did you
artistic.
choose beige in the first place?
Yeah,
Exactly.
looks artistic. And I just think in 1,000 years, who's gonna remember that carpet? No one. But who's gonna remember having to put shoes on when you didn't want to? I think that's going to be in the annals of history.
Yeah, because probably if you had to put shoes on when you didn't want to, there was a good reason, like maybe you'll lose your toes.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you were
Or
too
just get
busy
lost on the
inventing
way.
something incredible, you know, and now it's been interrupted, and now you can't remember how to fix your time machine because you've had to put your shoes. You know, it feels like there's a lot of valid reasons, and sometimes that doesn't come up.
Absolutely. My 2.5-year-old son, he was, I had served what I thought was gnocchi, which is a sort of potato pasta.
Mm.
It can also be known as patasta.
Whoa.
Or
Pastato?
Pastato. Pastato, potato,
Yeah.
patast.
Yeah. Do you think it's called gnocchi because it's like Pinocchio? And
it was his favourite dish, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
So I'd served that, I thought, but it turned out he needed to count them because actually they were thumbs.
Oh, yeah, well, of course.
He needed to count them and pile them up on the other side of his bowl, outside of his bowl, in fact, on the table, like a bunch of thumbs that he was then going to use to barter in some sort of medieval market.
Well, yeah.
Now, I got a little bit angry because I wanted him to eat the gnocchi, but of course I hadn't fully comprehended the fact that they were in fact thumbs, and he needed them to barter in the medieval market.
Well,
with the witches and the trolls.
Also, what you were doing is very short-sighted. You thought this will fill you up now, so you have to eat them. But actually, what he was doing is creating a bartering tool that then he'd go to the market. He may well have got magic beans from that market, planted them, grown a beanstalk, at the top of which there might have been a giant issues, but then there certainly would have been treasure and probably larger food for which he could have fed from for a month.
A giant squash, for example.
Exactly.
We could have made oodles of soup.
Yeah. You know, so it's we do have to remind ourselves, as I do hate the fact that I'm a grown up sometimes. I'm so sorry to all the listeners. It's so boring. Can't really help it. You know, you try. I was it was very cold the other day, and I was walking around thinking it's so cold. Maybe this has frozen my face, and it will stay the same age for a little while. But it doesn't work. But as a grown up, sometimes you just have to think. I've got to think of the bigger picture that these kids can see that I can't see. Sometimes I've just got to,
Just consistently remind yourself, no, I may have been living for, say, 3 to 4 decades longer than this person, but they do fundamentally know better than me.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I know all the listeners will know that as well. They know that. They're smart. Well, listen, Helen, you know, thank you for taking time out of your butt battling, your extreme musical chairs, and all your wild swimming and your gnocchi creating to come back on the show. It's so lovely to have you back. And I do have a question that I know you can deal with. Actually, I know you're the expert that can deal with this question. But before I ask it to you, we've got some new admin questions. Actually, how do you feel about new admin questions?
Excited.
Okay.
Hit me.
Good.
I mean, don't actually hit me. You can't, but I'm just, because obviously I'm resting from my butt.
Well, that was it, yes. Well, I didn't want you to, I sort of wondered if you were in training mode then. I was thinking, well, I can't. Sure. Yeah, I don't want to. No, we'll ask these very gently. In fact, this will be the opposite of extreme musical chairs.
Lovely.
The first question of new admin is quite simply, what is this?
This is a conversation between two comedic humans. Secretly, they are wild, angry bears sewn inside skin suits, but they're doing a very good job at present of pretending to be grown adult human comic-oids. They're having a conversation. It's a thing called a podcast, which means that it is a pea that has been podded and cast in audio form and then delivered down the tubes into your ears, out of the speakers, around the car or living room or kitchen or stable. I don't know. I think we have got several horses listening.
Yes.
So that you can hopefully be entertained, educated, and tickled.
Wow. Wow, that's quite amazing. I hadn't realised that was what was going on. I mean, I have got some questions in that. I definitely agree with them being sort of bears contained. One of the things, I'm quite hairy, and I often wonder if actually I'm sort of not disguising the bear well enough. But I think sometimes I look as though a bear has kind of shaved around their eyes, and that was all. That was the only effort they went to be a human.
Let me reassure you, it doesn't sometimes look as though a bear has shaved around their eyes. It always looks like that.
Sure.
Everyone's very conscious.
Yes.
But I think in that way, we're very conscious that you're a bear who's just shaved around their eyes. Sometimes well, sometimes poorly.
Sure.
But
yes.
In many ways, it's reassuring because you're not trying to hide it.
Right.
If anything, you're drawing attention to it. And I think that makes people feel more relaxed. It's like, oh, he's admitting to the fact that he's a bear sewn inside a human suit.
So should I not even bother with the shaving around the eyes? Do you think I should just go full bear? I should just
go full bear.
Right.
You could keep the hoods. You could keep the hoods shaven so that you can see out.
Oh, sure, yes, because otherwise that would be difficult. Unless I was practicing, I'm not going to get into extreme musical chairs. I have to be honest. I don't think I'd cope. But if I was, it would be good to keep the fur over my eyes, and then I could only be guided by the butt.
Yeah, and actually animals obviously are much more attuned to what's happening in the back there because the hair acts as a kind of like a sixth sense.
Yeah, that's very smart. Wow. Well, and the other thing I have to ask, obviously, in your answer there is so it's peas that are shelled. To create a podcast, you need a pea that is shelled, and then
you pod it,
and then it is cast. So again, we're talking about sometimes when you get annoyed with children, like actually, my daughter has a thing where she eats peas one at a time, and it takes most of my life, and but maybe she's making podcasts, and I hadn't really thought about this of. There's often issues with children eating peas, but are they all just creating a lot of podcasts?
Inside their tummies?
Yeah, or wherever they're flicking them on the floor in the.
Is that what you call it when she does a pop?
No, I meant that peas tend to go everywhere as well.
She's podcasting.
Right? Is that what we're doing? Are we just farting into ears?
I thought we'd agreed about.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Okay.
I thought we'd agreed that a long time ago.
Yes. Yeah. I just sort of. Yeah. Yeah. It's quite a long fart, then, isn't it? I worry what you've been eating.
On my part, it's a lot of peas.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, of course. Wow. So it's a lot to think about.
Thank you for that lovely question.
It's a great question. I hadn't realised this is what we were doing, and it's a real eye opener actually to suddenly find out that's what you've been doing all along. I suppose.
Yeah.
But thank you, Helen. Thank you for answering that. The second bit of admin, and take your time on this. It's not easy. I would say it's not easy. This question. I appreciate that. But Helen, would you rather every time you coughed your bum fell off? Or every time you sneezed, you grew an extra leg?
I think that's very easy as a professional, semi-professional, extreme musical chairs contender.
Yes.
To lose my bum would be to lose
your career,
my purpose in life. Yeah, my passion, my joy, my chance of ever doing a successful butt bash again.
Yes.
So for me, it would absolutely be to sneeze and grow another leg.
How? I suppose the question I would ask: do you get hay fever? Are there times of the year when you may find yourself with an uncomfortable amount of legs?
Or do you ever lose them again, or do you just have them for life?
I don't know. I don't know. There's not more detail in there. It could be that maybe they are there for a while and then they kind of shrivel up and fall off. Or it could be that you just gain more and more legs until you're like a sort of human millipede.
I'd be happy to have more. I mean, it would speed me up.
That's true.
I'd have to get a bit more coordinated when it comes to running backwards, but I think it would give me an advantage.
Yeah. What about, how would you feel? I feel like buying trousers would be really hard.
Buying trousers would be very tricky. I think you'd just have to get specially knitted jumpers, like those ones they put dogs in in the winter.
Yes, that's true, isn't it? Dogs don't even bother with trousers. They just go for jumpers for the whole
Mm.
body.
Mm.
Yes, that's clever.
With little holes for the legs and arms.
That's very clever, actually.
But does a dog even have arms, or does it just has 4 legs, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes, like, people, like, I know, like, a friend's dog, when you put your hand out and they put their paw on it, like they've high-fived you, and that you can't do that with a foot. You have to high-five with a high five, not a low five.
But that's like their foreleg.
Or is it a foreleg, not a back leg?
Yeah.
But so our arms aren't 4 legs. They're all 4. But we've got 4 arms.
We have got 4 arms, but we don't have 4 arms.
We don't have 4 arms.
But you might do if this person's question extended to other limbs as well as legs.
Yeah.
You sneeze and you get another leg, but maybe you also get an extra arm.
Yes, that's...
I wonder whether, if you end up with as many legs as a spider, do you start weaving?
Oh.
Would you get the capacity to make webs?
That's very interesting, isn't it? That is very interesting. And
I think
maybe
we
also
often
be able
get
to
limited
sort of walk up walls.
when we get asked these kinds of questions. We often get blindsided by what it would change in our existing lives, rather than thinking about the advantages it could potentially bring and the ways in which we might grow and evolve.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And it could be the start of a beginning, beautiful new life as a kind of large spider.
Exactly.
I like that.
And think of the things you could net.
Yeah.
You know, spiders attract flies and other little insects into their web. Whereas if you were a human who also had the capacity to weave a web like a spider, you could catch much more menacing creatures. Politicians who don't do the things they say they will. Baddies who come into bakeries at night and make it so that not all croissants have chocolate in them.
Oh, I hate those people. I really hate those people. Yes, it'd be amazing that, that in the morning they're just webbed to a wall and all the croissants have chocolate.
Exactly.
That's a beautiful thought, actually. Well, I mean, it wasn't a hard choice for you at all, that question.
No.
For some people, I think
Simple.
that would have been quite a tricky choice. But obviously, given your chosen path in life and your further analysis, it's quite an easy question. Well, thank you for that. And that was, I should say, it wasn't a question asked by a person. It's an official Radio Nonsense question. It's from the official Radio Nonsense handbook. It's just admin that we have to carry out before I can ask you any further questions.
Of course,
from the
very
listeners.
Important to understand what kind of person you're working
Well,
with.
exactly. It's very, very necessary. The question I do have for you, though, this has been sent in by Yuna, and Yuna has not put. I don't know any other details about Yuna at all. They're just Yuna. They could be of infinite age. They could have just been born. They could be from space. They could be from Luxembourg. I don't know. I don't know anything about Yuna. All I know is that Yuna has asked this quite remarkable question, I think. And she has said, if school is not a place to sleep, why is there homework?
That has really got me thinking, Yuna. That has really got the old brain ticking away like a time machine. I would ask you, if you're thinking that way, if school is not for sleeping, why is there homework? I would say, if pets are not for barbecuing, why are there hot dogs?
Oh.
If fruit is not a little bit bonkers, why is there a place called Sane Berries?
Wow.
And when you go in there, you are insane berries.
Wow. Wow.
I might also ask you, if rain is not meant to fall on average every day, why is there England?
Yeah.
These are such things that my brain starts to question when I hear a question like Yuna's.
And all very worthy questions. I mean, I suppose my thought is that it does seem slightly mean that then if you're not allowed to sleep at school, But when you go home, you have to do your homework, so you can't sleep because you're doing homework. Like, when are you meant to sleep? When is sleeping meant to happen?
When you go to the theatre.
Right. Is that what that's for then?
Yeah, I went to the theatre yesterday afternoon, and 2 boys, I would say maybe 14, 15, didn't take their coats off because obviously once you've got your coat on, it's been such a struggle to get it on.
Yeah, you don't.
You're not taking that coat off. And they were wearing the noisiest coats I think I've ever heard of in my life. It sounded like they were wrapped in a space blanket that had gone in the microwave and was electrically shocking everything around it. You know, when you put something in the microwave that's not supposed to go in the microwave and then it kind of goes a little bit on fire. That's what their coats were like. Anyway, they proceeded to fall asleep, both of them, on the back of my chair, head first, about 15 minutes into the play, and then snored for the next 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
But did they look refreshed at the end?
It was very dark, so I couldn't tell. And the lady next to me got so frustrated with their snoring because obviously she couldn't hear the play and she had paid to see it. So it was
Of course.
a little bit unfortunate that she couldn't tell what they were saying. She turned around and said, "This is ridiculous." And they woke up and realised they were asleep and suddenly pretended that they hadn't been sleeping at all for the last 45 minutes.
I'm going to go out there and say it's very rude of that lady to wake up someone who's, you know, if the theatre is for sleeping.
Exactly. They have no other time where they're able to sleep.
Yeah, because they're having to do all their homework at night when they get back from school. Where else are they going to go? They won't let them sleep at school and sleep. It's very, very rude of that lady. That's awful. So theatre. I mean, but what, you know, if you're going to get shouted at in the theatre for going to sleep, then where does that leave kids to go to sleep? Where are they? No wonder children at night time, like, I don't want to go to bed, and it's because actually they know they've got all this homework they have to do.
Mm-hmm. And they know that the only other option, if it's not the theatre, is the compost bin.
Yeah, no one likes sleeping in there, except for worms.
No.
Worms love sleeping.
Worms love to sleep in there, yeah.
But no one else really.
It's very cosy.
Yeah.
It's just, it depends on what you're composting. Leaves and grass, probably not too smelly. Yogurt and old bolognese.
Awful.
I wouldn't bed down.
And that doesn't work well together as a meal either, so you can't even snack when you're asleep. It's horrible.
No.
Really horrible. Would you, I mean, there's a problem here, and the problem is homework, I would say. You know, do you think it would be healthier for everyone if schools made you do homework at school? Or would it be healthier if you
Absolutely.
had to do schoolwork at home? Or, you know, where's the solution, Helen? How do we fix this problem?
I think you should be doing homework at school. You should spend the majority of your school day doing homework.
Yes.
And then when you get home, you can sleep.
Yeah.
Or clean the kitchen.
Yes, that's a great idea, actually. That's a really good idea. Because
for most of the children I know, they get home and, oh my goodness, are they desperate to wipe those surfaces? Whoa. They cannot wait to get in that gas hob and clean off the old splattered sauce.
Well, I mean, arguably, that's real homework and not the homework.
That's
often schools are
that's
like,
what
this
they're
is homework,
gagging to do.
But then the homework is maths instead of the actual homework, which would be...
They're begging their parents.
Hoovering.
They're saying, please, I wish I could get in that dishwasher and redo the salts and the rinse aid. But there's just no time for them. They haven't got the time to do the proper homework.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, so more to think about it.
It's very cruel.
It's very cruel, and the homework is just schoolwork. So the school is like almost fobbing off its home tasks by giving them to kids to do at their home.
Yeah.
It's outrageous. What are they thinking?
I don't want to be learning how to do simultaneous equations, long division, mapping all of the countries in South America. I don't want to. I do not. I'm 8 years old and I am desperate to get in that fridge and clean out the salad drawer.
Yes, which is it's a big deal, that. Big deal.
Sorry, I was possessed then for a moment by an 8-year-old boy.
That makes sense.
Called Malcolm.
Right. I mean, it is very convincing. I did wonder what had happened there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think I overheard exactly that on the bus the other day. An 8-year-old boy called Malcolm. I know because he had a badge on his coat that said 8 today, and his mother said, "Happy birthday, Malcolm."
That's nice.
And he said,
Nice.
"I don't want to talk about my birthday. I want to talk about the fact that I'm having to come home and do homework on long division, simultaneous equations, and all the countries in South America, and I am absolutely gagging to get in that salad drawer and clean out the old celery."
I mean, that's the one thing kids know they can do when they turn 8. It's the one thing they look forward to about being 8 is that finally you're old enough to really get rid of all that horrible sort of vegetable juice that congeals at the bottom of the salad drawer from the old vegetables that no one's had time to eat, and really deal with that. And if that's not what you're going to do when you're 8, then what's the point of being 8?
I know, exactly. His mother was visibly upset. She'd blown up a bunch of balloons, she'd baked a cake, she'd invited everybody over for a party, and all Malcolm could talk about was discarding the squidgy cucumbers in the side drawer.
Yeah. It's hard. It's very hard. It's very hard for kids nowadays, and with they're trying to clean the kitchen while their parents are off wild swimming, and it just it's a hard world. But thank you for that answer, Helen. I think I hope Yuna is happy. I mean, she won't be happy with the answer because the answer is harsh reality. She won't be able to go and mop the floor with the kind of flash quick clean detergent that she wants to. But that's just how life goes, I guess.
Sorry, Yuna. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
One day you'll have all the time in the world to get mopping.
Yeah. I hope she. Well, we don't. To be fair, we don't actually know anything about Yuna. She may well have that time now. So we don't know.
She might be listening to us on headphones with a mop in hand and a big old smile on her face.
Very possible. Do you know what? I hope she is. And that really cheers me
I hope
up.
all the children listening to this have been unshackled from their school homework, and they can stick on some headphones, get out the vacuum, and really get into the cracks in the sofa where all the dust and old bits of toast together.
Beautiful. Well, I hope so too. Thank you, Helen. Thank you so much for coming back to the show for answering Yuna's question. And obviously you got the big match ahead of you. Best of luck with that.
Absolute pleasure. I've had such a lovely time. And if you do want to share the Extreme Musical Chairs that's happening at Alexandra Palace in the coming months, I will. I'll send you the link, and you can post it on your socials, where I'm sure everybody's following you already.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Did I say something wrong?
Thanks so much to Helen Duff for taking time out of her intensive Extreme Musical Chairs training to answer Yuna's question. Yuna, I do hope you liked your answer, but if you have any complaints, then please do pop them in an envelope on a chair used in Extreme Musical Chairs, and then hopefully someone will butt it so violently that it'll end up in space and I'll never have to see it. If you have a question that you need to have answered on this show, then please do get your belly button fluff faces, sorry, I mean grown-ups, to help you email me at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. Leave a review on one of the many podcast platforms or respond to the Spotify Q&A. And if your grown-ups like how this show keeps you distracted for at least 30 minutes and want to support me making it, they can sign you up to the advert-free Linda edition for a tiny bit of cash every month on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or Acast+. Do please also check out comedyclub4kids.co.uk for all our live shows, and have a listen to Bust or Trust, a kids mystery podcast, which I also co-host too, and is so much fun. It's all about mysteries and monsters and ghosts, and there's a bit of silliness every episode too. Okay, I left a trail of letters leading to all the letters, and hopefully some really stupid snails have once again charged in at top speed to eat the mail, and then Egbert can sort them out and be a bit happier with his existence. Egbert, what's the news?
Here's your stupid. Oh, a Mediterranean green snail. I'll just pop that in the green snail box. Ah, lovely. Now here's your stupid letters.
Hooray! He sounded very, very slightly cheerier. This is from Una, who just says, love this podcast, 10 out of 10. Thanks, Una, so much for listening. And I love your reply, 10 out of 10 too. Any more, Egbert?
Wow, a rare Galapagos farting rainbow snail. I can't believe it.
Is that good?
Shh! Take your stupid letters. I need to look at this snail.
Hooray! hooray, I think I've solved it. And this last letter is from OK Dumph in Canada, who says, I am 100 years old. And then they've sent a very, very rude word, which shouldn't be anywhere near a kid's podcast, and an emoji with its tongue sticking out, and a 1-star review. Ouch, that is so mean. Also, OK Dumph, how do you know it's a 1-star review? You're 100 and you shouldn't even be listening. Unbelievable. Well, maybe I'd be happy if Egbert ran away and didn't pass on any more reviews like that.
I like snails so much more than I like you. I will stay, but only if you never talk about belly buttons again. Just snails.
OK, deal. Wait, hang on. Do snails have belly buttons? How would that even work? Where is their belly?
Ah, that's it. I'm off.
You're just jealous because you don't have a belly button.
I do, and it's a real button, so there.
Really? What does it do?
This. My stupid letters.
Oh, well, I guess I'll have to sort through these snails by myself then, and the males. Red one, yellow one, a nice review, a horrible review, a dog wearing a snail hat, a snail on a whale. Snail mail? Oh, wow, that's like a combination of both. Oh, I'm sure it's going to be fine. Bye! You have been listening to
Comedy Club for Kids presents.
Radio Nonsense! Radio Nonsense! Radio Nonsense! Radio Nonsense! Radio Nonsense! It's the end.